Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Collin and Curtis in the Morning show. It's episode 54. We've done 54 of these. Collin, how are you doing?
This is good, and I thought we'd take time to say this episode is brought to you by the Dragon Quest Builders demo.
Dragon Quest Builders demo, Collin. I just really want to talk about this very briefly.
Okay.
A demo for this game came out. The full game is coming out October 11th. As you are well aware, I imported this game and sung its praises earlier this year. It is still currently the best game I've played all year.
Wow.
Even if you don't really have ever played Dragon Quest, and maybe aren't like a huge Dragon Quest fan, give it a shot. If you like Minecraft, obviously there's some very big similarities. It's just a really great game. And one of the things, Collin, as I got to play this demo and finally got to play the English version, it really is just, it's so evident that like what I love about this game is right off the bat, it's just like you're not a hero, and you should remember, like it straight up says, hey, there's one thing you really need to remember before you start playing, like or before you get into the world here, and that's that you're not a hero. So don't try to be.
I played
and
the game once.
you often get games that's like, oh, you're the chosen one or you're the hero. It's up to you. Only you can save it. And like there still is an element of that, because the setup in this is that it's post the original Dragon Quest and the kind of bad timeline where the world is destroyed by the evil Dark Lord guy, and in order to ensure that the people will never be able to rise up and retake their world, he has kind of removed all creativity from everybody, so nobody can build things, no one can create things anymore. And so now you just have this like wasteland where people are just kind of trying to survive. And that's where you come in. You have been gifted the ability to build. And so the way that they kind of fit in this ideal of like this Minecraft-esque building gameplay system is that your character, by the gift of the goddess, is able to build things. You are creative. And so in doing so, you are able to rebuild the world. And so it's a very optimistic game in a world that is in ruin, essentially, and where things are very dire. You have people who, through your ability to build things, come together and are hopeful about the future. And it's something you don't really see often, whether it be video games or otherwise. And it's just got a big Dragon Quest skin, of course. It's very much a Dragon Quest game. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, they put like Dragon Quest stuff in here, but it's, like it's got a lot of the things that, if you like Dragon Quest, are still in here, even though it's not your traditional Dragon Quest game. It's just fantastic. It's really, really good, and I'm super excited to play the English version. And with the demo out, people really should give this a shot, because Dragon Quest doesn't do very well over here in the West. That's one of the things that keeps certain Dragon Quest games from getting localized. Luckily, it's been getting a little better in the past couple years. But people should really give this a shot. It's different. It's definitely a very different kind of take on Dragon Quest. And I'm kind of hopeful that like this game, I feel like this game could do well if it was ever given marketing, which I doubt it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this game actually could do pretty well because of the obvious similarities to like a Minecraft or something. Like I feel like this game really has a shot, like if they put some marketing behind it, and like if kids saw this game, like I feel like like that could happen. I don't think it will, but I really think people should try this game out, because it's really legitimately great, and it's kind of being thrown to the wolves in the worst time of the year to come out, and especially with PlayStation VR being 2 days after this game comes out.
Yeah.
So it's going to get kind of drowned with everything else. But give it a shot before everything else starts coming out this year. Just give it a shot. I think some people might be pleasantly surprised.
What is the like overall goal other than just rebuilding the world? Is there like an overall goal?
The story. Well, so like the other thing is like, if you're someone who, I've seen a lot of people who imported it. I remember one of the I guess compliments they had for the game was that they felt like they didn't like Minecraft because there was never a goal. There was never
Yeah.
like a thing they were striving to. So this game feels a lot like kind of that kind of game, but it has something going, like it has a story, or it has something that you're following along.
Mm-hmm.
So in this game, the story is split up into, I think it's like 4 chapters, might be 5, but it's split up into these chapters, and so each chapter it's kind of its own story. Like you're on a specific continent in the world, and there's like one specific town or village or city that you're rebuilding. And as you rebuild, more and more people come to this town, and they start building things too. Like once they see you're able to do things, you're essentially kind of like almost teaching them how to build and how to just be creative again. And so like when you build like a stove, like they start cooking things, or if you build like a crafting table, they'll start building furniture. And so it's kind of just this like it's that element of rebuilding things, but also like just bringing a community together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like, oh, it's the 4 warriors of light going off to save the world, and that's fine and everything, but it does feel fresh in that way, that it's there's not this huge focus on you being the hero. And like the game even states like you're not gonna level up by going out and fighting monsters.
Yeah.
Like that's not how this game works. Instead, it's your camp, it's your town that's leveling up. So there is like an overarching story. It does very much play into like post Dragon Quest 1, because Dragon Quest 1 at the very end, the villain's like, oh, if you can join me and I'll give you half the world. And so naturally you don't do that, you defeat him. But this game is kind of based on the premise of what if you did join him? What if the hero in that game actually joined with the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what would happen? And so you have this. You have a world that is really messed up, and it's up to you, with the only person in this world with the ability to build things, and you're gonna rebuild it, and it's pretty great. So it's
Okay.
like there is a bit more to the story. Some of it I don't quite know just because of the language disconnect. I felt like I had a pretty good understanding of most of it, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to play the English version, is just to finally actually get my hands on that and see the localized text and actually be able to read what people are saying to me. So
Yeah. Huh.
it's good. The other thing, Colin, is it's October. It's
It
my
is
favorite month
October.
of the year. We're all leading up to Halloween, horror movies,
Or my birthday.
all that,
just
and your birthday, of course.
Yes.
Of course, there's also that. But it's a really good time of the year, but also it means that we're kind of in it. We got all sorts of big games coming out.
Yep.
All sorts of crazy stuff. One of which, Colin, is just a week and a half away. And that's PlayStation VR.
I can't believe it's already like this close. I keep like forgetting that like it's in, like as of recording this, it's in like 11 days.
It's crazy. We were talking a few days ago, like we keep feeling like it's still like a few months away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. It's so close, in fact, that we've been getting PlayStation VR unboxing videos.
Yeah. I
That's
really like
happening.
I really like the box. Like that was kind of the one thing I wanted to talk about, I guess, is like the packaging. I think the packaging like looks like really well done. I was kind of maybe just fearful it'd just be like, hey, here's this box and here's full of stuff.
You know what I actually like more than that?
What is it?
Well, this only applies to the US, I suppose.
Mhm.
But the demo disc actually comes in a game case.
Yes, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it's not.
I think that's I like that.
I saw the European one and it just comes in like
it's just like a sleeve.
paper sleeve. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
You know what? Like and they're like kind of getting gypped on it too, because they're not getting all of the demos that we're getting.
Yeah, they're getting like it was like almost like it's like 10 almost like almost like 10 less
missing a
demos
few.
or something.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I when I saw there was one of the unboxing videos, like pulled out the game case with the demo disc, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, nice.
Yep.
I like that. I like the return of this demo disc.
Yeah.
The other kind of VR related news is that Best Buy announced this past week that they're going to be doing midnight openings, or 11 p.m., 10 p.m., or 9 p.m., depending on where you live in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so they are saying that they should have extra units if you did not pre-order. Even stores that don't open at midnight should have some extra units the day of. I imagine those will go pretty quick.
Yep.
But, Collin, my local Best Buy will be opening at midnight.
All right, cool.
Next week. So man, I'm thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking about it.
We should do like live from the parking lot.
We should do a live from Best Buy. Yeah. Collin Curtis in the morning.
Yeah.
Or Collin Curtis at 9 p.m. as I wait. See, that's the thing is I'm not really sure if I do go out and like line up. I don't know how early in advance I should go. So I'm thinking maybe like because like Best Buy is not very far away. Luckily, like it's only a few minutes away, so that's pretty good. So I'm thinking maybe I'll like try to find a reason to go up there early in the day, and see and like scope it out and see like, okay, is there anybody there? Do I see a tent outside?
Yeah.
Because like I'll probably just bring my 3D. Like if I do, I'll just bring a 3DS or a Vita or something. Find something to play while I'm waiting. Because I feel like that's probably going to be my best shot. I'm kind of hoping GameStop also does a midnight thing. I would rather go there. That way I can just buy it with my Power Up Rewards card thing. So that way I can get points to something because I don't have a Best Buy membership at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm still not like, don't know for sure if I will or not. But I think if I'm in the position to do so by next week, I probably will.
Yeah, I think I will too.
Because I feel like that's gonna be our one shot at this point of being able to get it. Aside from maybe winning through Taco Bell. So, anyways, that's interesting, and that might maybe that'll create some fun stories. So if you are planning on going to lining up outside of Best Buy, let us know. And if you do, maybe in a future episode we can share some fun stories if anything comes of it. If anything weird happens.
Yeah.
So let's get through some of this news real quick, and then we'll wrap around and talk about this YouTube gaming show.
Okay.
That happened this week. So Collin, I got a couple of these. So there's keeping on the VR train. There's Sports Bar VR. It's coming out October 13th. You're in a sports bar, so there's like a pool table, there's darts. It's all multiplayer. There's like a trailer where you can see like the PlayStation VR headset like floating in the air.
Yeah, wearing different hats and stuff like that.
Yeah, hear people like talking and laughing and stuff. Yeah. That's kind of interesting. It actually reminded me a lot of like Pool Nation and Hustle Kings. They looked very, I mean, obviously because there's pool is one of the main things that you can do.
Yeah.
So they just looked similar. But it looked interesting at the very least. I think that might be it for VR stuff, actually. I don't see anything. Is there anything else on this list that supports VR?
No, I think that's it for VR. Yeah.
All right. Well, we also got the announcement of the PlayStation Experience 2016. That is coming December 3rd and the 4th. It is in Anaheim this year.
Yep.
Man, they waited till like the last minute.
Yeah, it's pretty late.
It feels like it feels like it's I mean, we're just 2 months away. So, cool to know that it is still happening this year. I did feel like as we got closer and closer, I started to wonder. I was like, I don't know, maybe they're just not doing it.
Yeah.
But hey, I think we'll wait until an episode closer to the PSX, and to do like predictions.
Yeah, definitely.
Or to talk more about that, because I think there's the potential for some pretty cool stuff to be there. But we will wait and see on that.
Yeah.
3-on-3 freestyle. It's coming to PlayStation 4 in Q4 this year. There's a beta going on. I got into it and played a few matches. I hope that there are more. Well, see, this is the trouble, right? Because typically in betas, especially multiplayer betas, there's like, you're not gonna get the whole offering that the full game will have.
Yeah. The
one thing I really don't like about this is so it's a arcadey kind of basketball game, and I do like that. Mm-hmm. I prefer the more arcade sports approach over the sim, for sure.
Same.
So there's a couple options. You can play 3-on-3 with 6 players total, so three people on either side, or you can play solo match 3-on-3. So it's 1v1. But the issue there is that you only ever control one person on your team.
Mm-hmm.
So the other two people are controlled with AI, and so you just gotta like put yourself in a position and like get yourself open for a pass, or things like that, which is similar maybe to like an NBA 2K, where you have your my player mode and you're only ever playing as that player, and you kind of go through your career and story mode in that way. That's fine. I don't like that. I want to have control of everybody.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that is an option in the full game because that's not in the beta. If it's not, I don't think I'll play much of this game. Like, the game itself seems fine. I don't think, like, as far as how it plays, like, it seems totally okay. And it probably could be interesting to get, like, 3 people together and get on the same team and play. Like, that probably could be pretty fun. But for me personally, I don't see that happening. And I would like to just be able to have control of everybody and be able to pass it to who I want to pass it to. And it's kind of a bummer that I can't, at least in the beta. That could change. But other than that, I do like some of the character designs. There's some like interesting characters you can play as. Some of them are not great, but there's a few that I kind of like. And then keeping with the sports thing, they announced Super Mega Baseball 2. It's coming to PlayStation 4 in 2017.
You're a big fan of the first Super Mega
I really
Baseball.
like that game.
Okay.
Did you ever play this?
I did not, no.
Okay. So this game is actually, I think the big new addition is that it's going to have online.
Oh, okay.
Which was kind of a big thing that was missing, I felt, from the first game. It was like a small team, so it was kind of one of those deals of like, well, we can't really do it because we're just not big enough and everything. So it was one of those kinds of things. And so I'm really glad to see that they were able to, that they're planning on putting it in. And then also, I guess, like, artistically wise, like, they're going a little bit, it's still cartoony, but it's not like as exaggerated as the first game. I think it looks good. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Like, I really think Super Mega Baseball was super good, and like, it's something I would easily recommend to anybody, especially anyone who likes baseball. Like, I had a great time with it, and played it was one of the few games that I reviewed and then continued to play like a good bit of, even after the fact. So yeah, excited about that. Collin, what are these other news stories here? What else we got?
We also have Viking Squad coming to PS4 on October 4th. This is a game I want to say we heard about a long time ago. But basically it's like I can't remember if it's up to 4 players, but you can choose between 4 different players, each specializing in a different weapon, playstyle, take on enemies as an archer. You can have a defensive character with a shield. But yeah, it's kind of like a brawler, I would pretty much say. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, another Viking game, like Zombie Vikings. Like basically fighting Norse mythology things, I guess. There's a part where I think one of the Vikings is riding the back of a walrus and they're going and attacking people. So I don't know, it looks fun. It's coming out on PS4 October 4th. Let's see what else. We also have Sundered. Sundered? Sundered, yeah, I think I'm saying that right.
Yep.
It's a hand-drawn epic by the makers of Jotun, which is actually a game that just came out recently. Jotun was. I haven't really watched too much of Sundered, but from what I remember about Jotun, it had a very kind of beautiful style to it. And so far, like what I've seen on like at least the screenshots of Sundered, they're not going away from that kind of look. Very stylized. This is more of a 2D kind of action platformer. I guess maybe throw it in that genre, other than a kind of like top-down isometric kind of like thing that Jotun was. What else we got? Curtis?
Well,
do you want to talk about this?
So there's Paladins Champions of the Realm.
Oh, that's right. I missed that one. Yeah,
coming to PS4. I don't know much about that.
So you can actually sign up for a beta, I believe, or an alpha access. And this basically I'm not calling it a ripoff, but if you watch the trailer, it's hard not to think about Overwatch. It's a free-to-play fantasy-themed first-person shooter It was on PC. You sign up for closed beta right now on PS4. I think I signed up for it, and I don't know if they sent me a code yet or they're going to send codes in the future. It's free to play, but it looks very Overwatchy, and it looks very Paragon-y. Just add E on the very end of things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it looks all right. It looks like a class-based first-person shooter. Has the style that you'd find in like an Overwatch. But yeah. But
well, Collin.
Well, how do we transition this?
So
just go for it.
Michel Ancel.
Yes. Working on this game called Wild. Am I correct?
Legendary game creator, I would say.
Yeah.
He is currently working on a game called Wild. It is one that we have seen at a couple different Sony press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
At Gamescom. And I think maybe Paris Games Week last year.
Yeah, Paris Games Week last year, yeah.
It's a pretty cool looking game.
Looks alright.
But you may also know him from some of his efforts at Ubisoft.
Oh, you mean like Rayman?
Like Rayman. Or, I don't know, Beyond Good and Evil. So, Collin
Curtis.
Michel Ancel on Instagram 5 days ago, as of this recording, posted an image. There is a mechanic-looking guy who seems to be working on something. He's got some, we'll call them goggles. It's a bearded man. And on his shoulder is a small little pig. And this pig seems pretty content with life. Looks at some sort of orb, we'll say, that's floating above them.
Mm-hmm.
The caption on this image, Collin, somewhere in System 4, ... Thanks, Ubisoft, for making this possible. Now, Collin, you might ask, what is System 4? What is the significance of this?
What is the significance?
Correct me if I'm wrong. But that, I'm pretty sure, is the system in which Beyond Good and Evil takes place.
I never played Beyond Good and Evil.
You should fix that.
I think I played the demo when it was on PS3 a long time ago, but yeah, it came out free on PS Plus on PS3 a few months back.
You should fix that. So,
okay.
The plot thickens. 3 days ago, as of this recording, there's another picture from Michel Ancel. This one is a humanoid-esque character with a shark for a head. A shark head. The face of a shark for the head.
Shark face.
Shark face. Ooh, What? Man, 100 points if you get that reference. The caption for this is "Ready for the fight. Independence. #Ubisoft Day." So obviously this is, that part of it is in reference to this ongoing story of Vivendi attempting to maybe do a hostile takeover of Ubisoft.
Yeah.
But I think the more pressing matter here is that he seems to be teasing what I could only imagine would be Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Or maybe Beyond Good and Evil 0, because that pig looks pretty young.
It does.
Could be like a younger version of that pig character that I don't know the name of.
A younger version of that one pig. I believe his name is Paige.
Okay.
I believe that's accurate. It's been a few years since I played Beyond Good and Evil. Which, by the way, you should fix, Collin. You should fix that.
I'll add it to the backlog.
So the interesting thing about this is, obviously the timing is interesting. I think just this past Friday was Ubisoft's annual investor meeting. I don't really know too much of what came out of that. Haven't really been following it, but we've got that. We've got, of course, the Vivendi stuff going on. We've got rumors about Beyond Good and Evil 2 that kind of popped up earlier this year. I don't know if you remember those.
Was this the one about the NX?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that as well. Whether or not that's true or not, oh boy, that would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Colin, I'm just excited. It's one of those things, the way, you can certainly explain it away as they're not really making it. He's, but at the same time, man, having the caption be thanks for making this possible. And just tweeting out things, or not tweeting, but posting on Instagram these kinds of things, I don't know. It seems like maybe it's actually happening. Maybe it's actually starting to come together. This is a game that's kind of been in limbo, I guess. You know, I don't know if it was ever officially announced, or maybe it was, because there was
that trailer.
We got that CG trailer,
Yeah,
or teaser, we'll call it.
mm-hmm.
And then there was like the leaked footage that came out as well. And ever since then, it's kind of been in limbo, and it's been really unsure of like where things would go from here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's exciting. I hope that this does lead to something.
Yeah.
Whatever platform it may end up on, I just want to see it happen. And yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. It was an interesting thing that kind of popped up this week that it's still kind of mysterious. I still feel like we have no idea where this is leading. Whether or not an announcement is imminent, or maybe it's something that 6 months from now we'll look back on and be like, whatever happened to that? So I don't know. Yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see. Is that all of our news this week?
Just one last one. The Escapist 2 got announced, coming to PlayStation 4 in 2017. Looks like there's going to be a lot of new options. I think they said something about combat. There's going to be new combats, new way to escape, new ways, plural, to escape.
Yeah.
And some other things. I never played the original Escapist, but I think it's got kind of a following.
I played a little bit. I never really got super into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting game, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Collin, let's just jump right into it.
The monthly.
This is the best lineup of PlayStation Plus in a very long time.
Very long time. What would you say the last? Would you say the Rocket League month or something?
Knack? What? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that was also a good one. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to look at every specific month to say for sure. I know I feel confident in saying this is the best one we've gotten in a while.
Yeah.
Colin, we are getting one of the greatest games ever made.
Transformers Devastation coming to PlayStation.
Transformers Devastation is pretty good. So this is the Platinum developed Transformers game that came out last year.
Yeah.
Right around this time, actually, if I remember correctly. It's pretty good. It's not like gonna blow you away or anything. It's maybe on the lower end of the Platinum scale, but even then, the low end of the Platinum scale is still pretty darn good.
Yeah, it seemed like a game that you put maybe like 8 to 12 hours in, and that's just kind of it, and like you finish it. It's not super long, but
I redboxed it and finished it pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So I'm not, like, I don't think I'll probably just add it to the library just to have. I'm probably not gonna play through it immediately, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. There are things that there are certain things that I think this game has similar issues with the Legend of Korra game that they did.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bit, there's a bit more of a scope here than compared to Korra. There's a little bit more here, but even then, it does kind of falter from some of those same issues as far as level design is concerned, and just kind of reusing things. But the actual combat itself and the way the game plays, it's really, really good. It's just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it. I seem to remember it being kind of hard, or maybe later on.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I think that's pretty exciting and something I would easily recommend anybody check out if you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But Resident Evil Remake HD. This is the PlayStation 4 version of the Resident Evil remake that came out back in January of last year.
The PS4 version of the GameCube version of the original PS1 version. Of the
original PlayStation 1 version. Colin, this is the best Resident Evil game ever made.
Other than 4, obviously.
Well, and it's I would argue it's probably one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, I think I played this was like a few weeks before it had come out last year in January, but I think I played like a little bit at PAX South, and I really don't remember too much about it, but yeah, it's one that I ended up getting that and Resident Evil 0 off the Humble Bundle Capcom thing. Yeah, so I've got them both on my console, especially Resident Evil 1.
So it's funny, I did think about it because I was like, oh, you just recently bought this.
I know I did. Yeah.
But now there's no excuse. Yeah. It's October. It's that time of year. Download this and play it if you have not.
Yep.
And if you did but never bought this version, download and play it. It is fantastic. It is
Mm-hmm.
everything I love about Resident Evil, and let us pray that RE7 can just give us even just an inch in that direction, just even a little bit,
So,
even approaching that.
but why is this game so good?
Why is this game so good?
Why is this game so good?
So first off, I mean, in some of these things are kind of parallel to just the original Resident Evil in general.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I love about this is it is centralized to one location. The mansion is a character, if you will. It is. You have this huge mansion with like winding hallways and all these different rooms, and it almost feels maze-like. And in that, you have this like, just this overwhelming sense of, even though it's just one central location instead of a huge open world, the mansion still feels so huge. And there's other, especially in this remake, there's some added locations too. So there's even a little bit more in this version. But it feels so focused in that respect, and I think the level design especially benefits from that. You just have the way everything works together, and especially like, I'm someone who played through this game like 7 times within a few weeks last year, and with each and every successive playthrough, it was like figuring out where like the best routes to take, and eventually getting to the point where I was, essentially speedrunning this game over the course of just a couple hours. And you really, like, in doing so, you really get a good glimpse, and you're able to really appreciate just how good the level design in this game is.
You're finding new secrets and things like that.
And then I think also, if you look at the way, what this game did to the original game on a remake scale, it's how I feel remakes should be done. It takes the original game, and it plays with your expectations, and it kind of it does things that are familiar, and it kind of inches into that nostalgia territory, but it also screws with that. So infamously, in the original Resident Evil, there's the hallway that you walk down, and the dog jumps through the glass.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most infamous jump scares, I think, in all of video games. I know that's maybe that sounds hyperbolic, but I don't think it is. Like, that is a moment.
Yeah.
In that game. It's something that I feel like even if you haven't played Resident Evil 1, you know about that moment. And so you play Remake, and you get to that part, and you go down that hallway, and you're expecting, okay, here comes the dog. You walk down that hallway, nothing happens. And it's like, oh, wow, they took it out. Oh, my God. Like, you don't expect that. And so you keep going through the game till eventually you come back to that hallway, but you come back from the other side. And at that point, you've just kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, I can't, they took the dog out, but you don't think about it anymore. So as you come from the other side, suddenly 2 dogs jump in. And it gets you all over again. And so there's that. There's also, in this version of the game, when you take down a zombie, if you don't take their head off, because every zombie they just leave it there. They would just be left on the ground laying there. So as you come back to different parts of the mansion, you'll see them just laying on the ground. So at one point in the game, these zombies that did not have their heads blown off, if they're still just laying there, or you can also like take matches and you could light them on fire and burn their bodies.
Yep.
Which is the other thing that you should do. Which is why matches are such a it's such a major role of this. But if you don't do that, these zombies will get back up, and they're just much fiercer.
What's
they
their
turn
names?
like red. There's red. It's red something.
Oh, come on, Curtis.
Oh, Crimson Head.
There you go.
Crimson Head. I got it. Crimson Peak. Yeah. So they are much more dangerous, and it's another kind of thing of like that wasn't in the first game.
Yeah.
Originally, and so it's in this remake, and it's just one more. It's one of many things that this game does that really kind of messes with you and plays with your expectations, and it does it to the game's benefit. It makes the game better for it, because it takes it still has everything you love about the original, but it builds off of it in ways that are intelligent, and in ways that make the game itself better. And just on the whole, and I also love I love that. We got into a point where Resident Evil, the story has become so convoluted. It's nice to kind of go back to that and just see the beginnings of everything. And I think and that's why, again, I'm so happy that RE7 is just centralized to one location, because I think you need that. Sometimes that intimacy is what makes something far more scarier than if you've got like a huge, we'll say, globe-trotting adventure.
Yeah.
Having everything kind of close together, and also because I mean, it is straight up zombies. There are other enemies in this game at some points, but this is just, it's zombies. And for a good portion of the game, up until maybe the midway point, a little farther in, and a few bosses excluded, it's just zombies. And there's so much of this game where there's not combat. You're just exploring, you're puzzle solving, and it's the atmosphere itself. And of course, like, the fixed camera angles really adds to it. Having the different playable characters that have their own strengths and weaknesses. The super campy dialogue is super great. Like, Barry Burton is a national treasure. My only complaint about this game is that they removed the Jill sandwich line, which I feel like it's the dumbest thing ever, but I love it for that. But this game itself is truly remarkable, and if you have not played it, you owe it to yourself to play this game. It is genuinely great, and it does offer an alternative to tank controls, but please give tank controls a shot. I know that, like, your first first minute or so with them might feel rough, but like, they're there for a reason. They're there to, again, kind of
up the tension,
up the tension, and create that. It helps create that feeling of that you are not this super all-powerful person, and that even just one zombie is dangerous because your movement is limited. And I think that is a good thing in the case of Resident Evil. So it's great. It's fantastic. And like, that game alone makes this list, even though I already own it. I can see it and appreciate it being here, and just be like, yeah, if you don't have this, please give it a shot. Please play this game. So there's also 4 other games that you get.
Oh, yeah. I see. This is another thing. Is this a conspiracy that Sony doesn't want to tell you about the other games? Like the PS3 and the PS Vita games? Because they put out like this trailer.
Conspiracy, but
they put out this trailer that they're like, oh, here's your free games, and then they only show the PS4 ones. I don't know, man.
Because it used to be, they used to show all of them.
Yeah, they used to. Yeah.
And I want to say maybe it started earlier this year, or maybe late last year, but at some point within the last year or so, they started only showing the 2 PS4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. It's weird because, like, you have to go to then it's like, oh, go to the PlayStation blog post to see the full list.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine, but it does seem strange. Like, I guess maybe it's just like, it just takes less time, and it's like, well, let's just just throw together, just take 2 trailers of these 2 PS4 games and whatever. But it does put the focus on those 2 games.
Yeah, it does.
And the other 4 can feel like afterthoughts, even if they maybe aren't.
Yeah.
But on PS3, we've got Mad Riders and From Dust.
Now, do you know what Mad Riders is?
No, I can only assume that it is some sort of racing game.
So during this podcast, I was like, oh yeah, what is Mad Riders? I Googled it and watched some YouTube footage, and basically it looks like you take like an MX versus ATV game with the ATVs, and you put like some MotorStorm in there with the ATVs. And
I might have played a demo of this game. This sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It looks fun. I might even download it and try this.
And then From Dust is, of course, the Ubisoft game.
Yeah, the God game.
Yeah, this came out a long time ago.
Yeah, it did.
I almost forgot about this.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember playing a very little bit of this. I don't remember liking it all that much.
I think I tried a demo. I don't think I liked it either. Yeah.
Somebody on this site reviewed this game when it came out. I don't remember who. But anyways, there's also Code Realize Guardians of Rebirth on the Vita. And I don't, unfortunately, I don't really know. I know the name. I don't really know too much about it.
Would you like to know who reviewed From Dust on PSNStores.com?
I'm gonna guess Ben.
No.
Brad.
It's not. It is Brad.
Yes. Okay. I was one of the 2.
And he gave.
What did he give it?
3 out of 5.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Sounds about right. And then Actual Sunlight is coming to PlayStation Vita. Or it's out on Vita, but it's coming to Plus on Vita.
Yeah, it's already out. I reviewed it.
You reviewed this game. You do not like this game.
I really don't. I don't know why. I'm going to search the site right now. I can't remember what I gave this game. But if I could have a review back, it might be this one. I gave it. Oh man, I gave
well,
it.
What do you mean exactly by that?
Well, I gave it 3.5,
okay.
and this is a game that when it just kind of it just sat with me more, and the more you
thought about it,
the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't like this game.
Okay.
One thing I would say is that it deals with very serious subject matter like depression and suicide.
Sure.
Without giving, I guess, too much away, if you are someone who struggles with anxiety and depression, I would not recommend playing this game. Yeah. It almost goes into the like glorifying category of it. Which is kind of a dark thing if you struggle with that. And I would imagine
it's probably not intentional for that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's probably made for people who struggle with it. I would bet.
Yeah, and maybe it just didn't resonate with me, I guess. Like if you're someone who doesn't struggle from it, I could see like this game being a game that like shows the awareness of people who have that. But as somebody who personally does struggle with those at sometimes, which I'm sure everybody does, but to different extents. I just was not really a fan of the game. Like in hindsight, it's not a text adventure or whatever, but it's very text heavy.
Yeah, visual novel almost.
Yeah, it's you're gonna be reading like every single time you go and talk to somebody, you basically just have this long stretch of dialogue. That you're just reading constantly with a black screen.
Okay.
It's not bad. It only takes about like an hour and a half to get through. It has easy trophies from what I remember, so if you're looking for trophies, just go for that, I guess. I don't know. But
a rousing recommendation from
yeah.
Collin here.
Yeah.
But that's the October lineup. This is the first lineup since the price increase.
Which I thought I had more time, but of course, like when the deadline hit, then I didn't check, but then it came and told me you only have like 7 days left on your PlayStation Plus subscription.
No.
And so I actually had to pay the $60. Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought I still had like a whole nother year.
Oh no.
But yeah, I had.
You should have looked around. There's been quite a few deals where it's been like 40 or so.
Well, I went and just. I went and just bought it online on PSN because I have the PlayStation Rewards credit card that gives.
Oh, sure.
PSN purchases, you get other reward points, so I just went ahead and did that.
That's funny. I think I have like 6 months left.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
I try to be the person that like updates it every year rather than like I'm just gonna buy like 5 years worth. It's like I try not to do that.
Yeah. That's a bummer. But, hey,
all right.
At least you're ready for Resident Evil, right?
I'm ready. Oh, I already have Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, you're still ready for it.
I would. I'll probably play Transformers Devastation.
Yeah, you should. It's good.
I might give Mad Riders a shot. Probably won't play From Dust. Don't really have any interest in that. I mean, I'll download it or get on my download list. I don't really know what Code Realize tilde Guardians of Rebirth tilde is.
So I don't feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, me neither.
But there is I guess there's one last thing I think we did want to talk maybe a little briefly about, just because there's a couple things that happened during it that I think could be interesting. So this week, this past Thursday, was the debut of Live with YouTube Gaming with Geoff Keighley. So this, in a lot of ways, Collin feels like a spiritual successor to GTTV.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's now, except it's live on stage. There is we'll call them an audience.
Okay.
I just tried to tell. It didn't seem like there was a lot of people there, but there was certainly a crowd there watching things happen. And so on this first episode, they had a lot of like Titanfall 2 stuff. They had Dishonored 2 for a little bit. I think Titanfall 2 is kind of the main thing, the headline, if you will. They had a segment where Troy Baker and another guy, I don't remember his name,
I don't
but
remember
he kind of got big because he did a video on YouTube where he sang Frozen songs using voices of other Disney characters. And he was like, it was really good. He was really good at like doing those voices. So apparently he is in a game coming out, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it is. There's a game coming out soon that he's actually doing voices for.
Okay.
But they were on stage and they were doing improv. It almost felt a little bit like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Kind of like a skit like that.
Yeah.
And I thought it actually was pretty funny. Like it went pretty well. Troy Baker is Troy Baker, but this guy like held his own.
Yeah, so I was watching this and I was like, oh, I don't really know how this other guy is. And like, I mean, Troy Baker is, fine, but I didn't really know like kind of the inference. It's like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool, it's kind of close or whatever.
His Winnie the Pooh was pretty good.
Well, I was thinking of his Goofy one.
Also,
I thought his Goofy one was really good.
Yeah, they had a scene where he was Goofy and Troy Baker was the Joker.
Yeah.
And yeah, like they killed it. They were really good.
Yeah.
I think the kind of the more pressing thing here. One, the show as a whole, I thought went pretty fine. Like there's some things I didn't really particularly care for, but I think overall like it's cool and it's good to see Geoff Keighley back doing this kind of stuff. It seems like it's going to be weekly. At least, like the original article on VentureBeat didn't mention it, but then on Engadget they mentioned that it was a weekly show. So we'll see how it goes, continues in the future. Seems like Geoff Keighley's like open to critiques and suggestions. But at the end of this, he kind of got on a bit of a soapbox, and he brought up, so in recent news regarding No Man's Sky, as things continue to go with that game.
Yeah.
There is, do you remember what the group is called?
The group is called?
There's in Europe, they're being investigated for false advertising.
Oh, I don't remember the group now.
So there's a name, I don't remember who it is, but basically specifically what they're investigating is not necessarily the things that were said in the interviews that people have pointed out, but it is on the Steam page. They still have the trailer from like a couple years ago. So a trailer that very clearly is not how the real game has turned out.
Yeah.
And so like that's specifically the thing that's being investigated. Because that trailer is not at all like if you go to the Steam page and watch the video that starts playing, it's not at all representative of the full game. And so there is I guess there's probably this argument to be made there of like, well, you should change that. But sure. Geoff Keighley kind of talked and he kind of shared some of his own experience with Sean Murray. Even made a comment that I guess he had talked to him recently and that Sean Murray was open to coming on the show later in October.
Yeah.
To possibly talk about things, which that would be fascinating. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but that would
maybe would after what he said tonight. I don't or said that night. I don't know because he wasn't going after him, but he was kind of
he wasn't sugarcoating it.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And so I mentioned this to you before we recorded, but I feel like when Geoff Keighley is not restrained, I don't remember the wording I used, but unfiltered Geoff Keighley is best Geoff Keighley. We think often about the Game Awards moment where he just laid into Konami.
Yeah.
And there's a moment like this where he was criticizing No Man's Sky in a way that I think some people may be surprised about.
Yeah.
And I've always liked Geoff Keighley a lot. I think he does good stuff. And I think when it comes down to it, like he'll be brutally honest, and I think he was in a lot of ways. And I think he was fair. Like I still think I am kind of bummed out about where the conversation has went with this game. I feel like there are certain people I know that it is nearly impossible to have a conversation about No Man's Sky with, because it immediately jumps into like almost this character assassination of Sean Murray. And whether you think he lied or not, it's whatever. Like, it just kind of sucks trying to have a conversation about this game and what happened around it, and that it was. I think it's fair to call it a disappointment in many respects, whether you like the game or not. And I do like the game for what it is, but it certainly wasn't what I think a lot of people wanted, and it's hard to have a conversation without people kind of jumping to the extreme negative or the extreme positive in some cases. There are certainly people who are willing to defend every little thing, and I think as time goes on, Colin, it's getting harder and harder. This is Hello Games. I think we're coming up on 2 months now, and I don't think they've said anything.
Yeah, they're pretty silent on
They've been dead silent, and from one aspect, I understand maybe the desire to not say anything, maybe until you have reached a point where you can present something that you're proud of as far as like an update to the game.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that coin, that does not look good. Like, even for someone like me who's like, I don't think that there necessarily was ill will or like ill intent on Sean Murray's behalf. Like, some people are out there saying he knew full well he was lying, and he was there was ill will involved, right? With that, and I don't necessarily think that's the case, but boy, does it look bad when you're now 2 months now and there's just nothing. There's just silence, and it's hard to really defend that. Not saying you should defend it, but it's hard to really argue with that. It's something that I feel like transparency is super important, and kind of hiding away and not saying anything I don't think that's the way to go about it. Even though they're in a position right now where I don't know what they can really say. Yeah. Other than presenting like the greatest game ever. Being like, this is going to be the update. I imagine it's probably going to be a slow build up to something people will be happy with, but they're in a really rough spot, and I don't envy them. Either. But go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that they talked about it, and I mean, granted, it's hindsight, but I think Geoff Keighley talked about how like he wished this game would have been an early access game, and he felt like Geoff Keighley said he didn't think it was worthy of a $60 price tag, and I mean, I feel like I would maybe go that far as well, saying that I don't think it's worthy of a $60 price tag. I think this is a $20 title. Honestly,
I don't even know how I feel necessarily about the price itself. I haven't played this game in a while. I've not touched it in a long time.
Me neither. I want to get back to it. I
played it a lot for a couple weeks, but I figured I'd pick it up at a point where they would have their next update. That update hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I think it's been a while since we've actually had it, and I might be wrong though, but I thought I maybe saw. Well, maybe there was. I thought I maybe remember there was an update. I guess a more substantial update. Yeah, it wasn't really a substantial update.
Being able to build fortresses and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm kind of waiting for that and seeing how, and maybe that might take a while.
The big 2.0 patch or something.
In those couple weeks after launch, I put a lot of time into this, and I did enjoy it. But like pricing wise, I don't know. That's always very subjective, and it's hard to really talk about that too much, I guess. But this should have, I don't know. It should have been early access. I think, again, like you said, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
But I think if you look back, I think it would have done this game a world of. I think it would have alleviated a lot of things if maybe at some point, there was this push to early access, and just to be like, this is something that's going to take time to build, and having more clear milestones and kind of having a timeline to show and even if it came out still in the state that it did come out in, at least having these milestones off in the future where people could see, oh yeah, that thing that they talked about in the interview, that is coming, it's just later on down the road. And it probably still would have been criticized for being like, oh yeah, it's out in early access now, but you want to wait, you should wait because it's not there yet. But I think then, and maybe having it a little bit cheaper than 60, like, I think that at least probably would have alleviated a lot of the backlash. There still would have been a lot, because I mean, Geoff Keighley kind of talked about it, where at some point that train was not going to stop. It went off the rails in a way that, like, there was no stopping it. Whether this game was amazing or not, like it was gonna get ugly, I think. And that's just how things go with games that are so hyped, especially for so many years. And I think that's legitimately one of the concerns with like something like The Last Guardian or Final Fantasy 15 is these are games that have been so long coming and there's so much anticipation built around them that, you know, if they are underwhelming, that's like there are people who are going to be really upset about that. So I think Geoff Keighley was perfectly fair. I look at review scores now for that game and I see like the 3 out of 5s and stuff like that, and I think those are totally fair. Like that's the thing. It's like I did enjoy what I played of that game. It is certainly not anywhere close to maybe especially some of those early trailers. And I think there is something to be said about, like you brought up what Geoff Keighley was talking about with, because he mentioned, he's like, I almost feel like I'm at fault in some way because he kind of helped boost this marketing push for this game. And you know, ultimately it comes down to the developers, of course, you know. But yeah, like it's hindsight is 2020, and if you look back on the past few years and from when this game was first announced to everything that happened afterwards, you can see why that would have maybe negatively impacted the game in some respects, or maybe not specifically the game, but its perception, because this game went from this game would have gotten big even if it didn't have that stage.
Yeah.
You know, like once people started seeing footage of it, like it would have blown up. But even then, I think you also look at the Sony marketing push for it. They put, they're like, it's a big Sony exclusive. It's a big deal. It's going to be trotted out at E3.
That's something I was going to bring up because this was, remember, even like a few weeks ago, Shuhei Yoshida had those comments saying that like, oh, he didn't think the No Man's Sky PR strategy he didn't think it was a great PR strategy. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because he's talking about he didn't have a PR person helping him. In the end, he is an indie developer, but even like Sony was treating this as a first party game, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, if you start up No Man's Sky, it says Sony Interactive Entertainment on the title screen. I think it does.
You might be right. It's been a while, but yeah. That I get what he's saying, and I do like Shuhei, and I get what he's saying there. But at the same time, like, with as much push as they were giving it, like, I would love to know, like, behind the scenes stuff, because you would think, like, because I think he's right. He is right. Like, yeah, they should have had somebody tap Sean Murray on the shoulder at some point and be like, yo, you should dial it down a little bit. And that's fine, but, like, you would think that with as much push as they were giving it, maybe someone from Sony could have stepped in just briefly and said, hey, how you doing? Maybe dial down a little bit in the interviews. Like,
maybe don't go on the Colbert show or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Like, I mean, it is ultimately, they were the ones trotting this thing out on stage every year, showing essentially the same demo, just on a different planet. So I don't know. Yeah, I can't imagine the story is over. I thought it might have been. Because it seemed like it was dying down. But with this group kind of investigating these false advertisement stuff, it seems like it's kind of right back up there now. The conversation has started all over again, and I'm sure it will once we get the first like big update post-launch, and we kind of, once Hello Games breaks their silence at some point.
If they will. I'm sure they will, but
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. And when that happens and what they say will be scrutinized, I'm sure, by many. But I will be fascinated to see it, because I think this is a fascinating story, and it's unfortunate the way things have panned out, obviously. But yeah, I mean, there are so many lessons you can take from this, I guess, and I would say, to wrap it back into this YouTube live gaming show that Keighley's doing, I hope there's more of this. I hope that each show does give him a chance to just kind of be on a soapbox for a little bit. I think if I had to critique anything about anything that he's done as far as the Game Awards or GTTV, E3 Live, anything like that, is more often than not, he's kind of this host to a guest. Usually the guest is a producer or someone doing PR for a game, right?
Yeah.
And they'll bring their game in, like, yeah, here's Titanfall 2. We got like 3 single player levels. You're going to see like 30 seconds of it. And it's like, okay, cool. Great. But he's always like hosting someone. And I think it's really cool to see him like in the Game Awards as well with the Konami stuff. Mm-hmm. For him just to be able to just talk unfiltered. I think. Go ahead.
Well, even like, you remember that old game trailer show called Bonus Round?
Yeah.
I used to watch that a lot, but like, there's a lot of times I was like, here's these there's this panel of people, and I'm like, I don't care about what they want to like say. I want to hear what Geoff Keighley has to say.
And and he always kind of played the moderator role, and he's fine as that. But it's the thing is, like, I feel like Geoff Keighley is a lot smarter than people give him credit for.
Oh, I agree.
Like the Doritos Pope thing, haha, that was funny and whatever, but like, I felt like that gave people the wrong impression of Geoff Keighley.
Yeah.
And I do, and especially I would totally recommend people read like the Final Hour stuff that he's done in the past. Mm-hmm. Like Portal 2 specifically is a really fascinating one.
I think he did one on the original Titanfall, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did actually, because it was that Portal 2. I think there was a Half-Life one that he did way back. But those are like legitimately really interesting and really good. And this guy has plenty of connections, but I think he's probably seen enough in the industry. I bet he's got some really interesting viewpoints. And I guess up until recently, we really haven't had a chance to see that from him.
Yeah.
And I would like and I would hope that this show gives him the ability to do more of that. Because I think he would provide an interesting look into certain things that maybe we wouldn't normally get. There was specifically one thing that he said in regards to No Man's Sky that when I heard him say that, I was kind of taken aback. But I also was like, wow, I don't think we ever would have heard anything like that from anyone else. And that was in regards to Sean Murray. And he talked about how close he was to this project. And I hope I am not taking this out of context, but this is something that he did say. And he referred to, I guess at some point earlier in this year, I believe is what he said, that Sean Murray kind of felt uncomfortable with Geoff Keighley being as close as he was because he felt that Geoff Keighley was maybe being too negative or presenting the game in a weird light, in a light that wasn't true to what the game actually was. And understandably, that could come off in a real bad way and look real bad for Hello Games and Sean Murray.
Yeah.
But it really stood out to me, and it's the type of thing that, you know, say what you will about Geoff Keighley, but you're not gonna hear a lot of people say things like that, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
And like you were saying earlier, maybe that would stop Sean Murray from wanting to come on this show. I don't know. I would hope that's not necessarily the case. I don't know that I'm convinced Sean Murray will ever appear on this show.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
But I
feel like this is where he needs to like, if he's gonna come out and speak, I think it's gonna be with. I would rather him come out and speak with Geoff Keighley than like somebody
than anyone else.
Person.
Yeah. And because I think because at least then we have seen Geoff Keighley unfiltered and we know what he thinks about this game.
Yeah.
And so we know I don't think he's gonna suck up or anything, but
I think he'll ask like tough questions too. Yeah. Like I don't think he's just gonna, you know. So tell me about your experience. Yeah. Like, you know, he's gonna go say like why. Like, what do you think? Why did you think that gamers reacted this way, or you know, things like that?
And I don't think, you know, again, I come at this from someone who did enjoy No Man's Sky, and I get the anger from certain people around it. The extremes are kind of off-putting on both sides for me, and wanting to talk about this game. But I think ultimately, I don't think this game is too far gone. I don't think it's impossible to. Like, I think there is a possibility you could still salvage this and save this game. You know, I think you look at Final Fantasy XIV and the state that it came out in 1.0. Granted, that is a much larger team under a much larger company.
Yeah.
But they managed to pull that off, and it's worked well for them. And it's one of the great stories, I would say, one of the great comeback stories.
Yeah.
But they did that by being honest. They did that by admitting fault, and they did that by really looking at what the community wanted and what they did wrong, and they fixed things. And it took a lot of time, but there was a transparency there that you don't see a lot. There's a transparency with Final Fantasy 15 in that same respect. I think there's some ways that they did it better with 14 than they're doing with 15, but it's clear that they actually care. And I think the best thing you can do if you're Hello Games is to show that, one, to admit fault, and just to be transparent and show that you're legitimately trying to make good on this vision that kind of was created and crafted through No Man's Sky. So I don't think it's unsalvageable, but I think it's going to take communication and being transparent, and that's not something we're seeing right now. And the longer... Well, go ahead.
Well, I just hope they are able... I mean, I don't know about hope, but like, is it too far out of the realm of possibility to say, like, maybe they can fix this or something like that? Like is Sean Murray going to say, like, there's just nothing more I can do? Or is he going to be like, I'm going to try my best, and we're going to try to update the game, and we're going to try and do our best to make it a better experience?
I think they're in a tough spot because, like, yeah, they put out True Danger, and those are great games. And they certainly have a long history. Like, those people are not just random indie developers. Like, they came from EA. Many of them did. They had worked on Burnout, but I think they're in this weird spot of, like, if they just threw their arms up and gave up, I don't think anybody would take them seriously.
Yeah.
It would almost be it'd be a situation similar to Peter Molyneux in many respects of, like, the next thing that they announce or show, like, no one's gonna take it seriously.
Yeah.
On the other end, like, as far as fixing it, like, again, I think it's possible. It's gonna take a lot. Like, they are going to have to prove that they can be taken seriously. I think, like, it's gonna be one of those things where at the start of it, if they come out, in the next month or so and say, okay, here is our timeline, here is how we plan on making good on this game, and we faltered in this way, or whatever. Like, at first, like, a lot of people probably aren't going to care, or they're probably not going to trust them, and it's going to take time for them to kind of build that trust again. But it's better than nothing, and the longer they wait, the harder it's going to be to imagine a scenario where they're able to make good on this.
There's that phrase again you used. It's better than nothing.
Better than nothing. So basically, they should just contact Keiji Inafune and get... No, I honestly, I really do think that they could, through time and transparency, and admitting that this is not this is maybe not what they originally planned or whatever.
What if this was a Kickstarter game? Like, what if this,
if it was Kickstarted and came out and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because with Kickstarter, you make certain promises, right? Like, with Kickstarter, there's like, oh, if we get this goal, we'll hit this.
Yeah.
Right? And so if that was a whole nother topic. Like, if that, like, that would, I don't even know. I don't even know how to approach that subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's too bad. I still think there are things about that game that are really interesting and very cool.
Yeah.
But they are incredibly overshadowed by the things that aren't there. And unfortunately, that's how things go sometimes. And I don't know. I hope that they're able to pull it together. I don't know how confident I am in that ever happening. But they gotta break their silence at some point. Like, they really need to come out and address things. Again, I get why they don't at the moment. Maybe they're waiting until they can get their first major update ready to go.
Yeah.
But the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
Yeah, I agree.
So hopefully we'll see something. Maybe Geoff Keighley coming out and saying something. Maybe someone as prominent as him speaking about it. Maybe that will kind of give them the kick that they need to kick it into gear. But it is a game unlike, in many ways, unlike many other. We've never seen a game of this scope in some respects. So I think that they are capable of making No Man's Sky what was originally visioned, I guess. But it certainly is not close to that right now, and it'll take some time. But we'll see. Maybe we'll talk about this game again at some point.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
It seems like a good chance, but
yeah.
I think that's an episode.
I think so.
So, Collin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How's the anime going?
It's going. I am getting close to the end of part 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
That's going good.
Is it a bizarre adventure?
It's bizarre. It's weird.
Okay.
I like it. I am watching this show called 91 Days. It's like it's kind of like in the Prohibition era. It's kind of like a mob story. It's pretty good. It's like it's not what you would expect from anime, I guess. It's very grounded. It's interesting. I've been watching Bananya, which I think has wrapped up. Bananya, Collin, is it's a weekly 3-minute episode per episode show about kittens that live in bananas.
I was wondering if something had something to do with bananas.
Yeah, so that's just weird and goofy and really fun.
Did you send me a link to one of those episodes?
I think I might have, or like a link to a screenshot of it. And finally, I finished the Danganronpa 3 anime yesterday.
Wow.
So real briefly, I guess because it is Danganronpa, so I guess it kind of fits in stuff that we would cover. I'm not going to spoil anything. So if you have not finished watching it or not caught up, do not worry. Collin, it's kind of weird to talk about Danganronpa in a way that is almost in a light that is not utterly positive.
Yeah.
One of the issues with this anime for a lot of people was that it was going to wrap up the storyline from Danganronpa 1 and 2 in another episode. So it was going to be kind of the finale, and people were upset because it was like, well, we want it to be in a game, not in an anime form.
Yeah.
Because the new game, supposedly, it's a whole new universe. Not connected, not connected to the other games. I'm kind of glad that's the case now. I hope that they stick to their guns and the new game is totally new canon, new universe, everything. This anime is fine. It is not great. And I do not like how it wraps up. There is one specific thing that when it happened, I was extremely disappointed. It's still good. It's still totally worth watching. It's just not great.
Yeah.
And it sucks because this whole series up to this point has been fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's what I got to say about that. Collin, that's an episode. We'll be back next week for more stuff. And we're coming up on VR, man. It's coming up. Be excited.
I'm excited to like maybe camp out. I don't know 100% what I'm doing yet. It's kind of more exciting that way rather than like, yeah, I just got my pre-order. Got to go pick it up. It's like almost like more exciting.
Be ready.
Like, got to fight for it.
We'll talk about it more in the next week or so. But until then, we'll see you next time.